Hello everybody, it's Tim here again, here another movie review, this time for Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Now this film is pretty much getting ragged by critics. In terms of the movie though, it has a good, like standard, good score from audiences. And a good, fine, like cinema score. As far as the film goes, I'll go ahead and say from 1 to 4 stars, I'd give it a solid 3 out of 4. I like this film. I didn't love it. I did like it. It's not like it's not the best Ghostbusters film ever made or anything like that. But overall, I'd give it a solid 3 out of 4. I did enjoy the film. It didn't blow me away. It's not a mind-blowing movie, but I had fun with it. I thought it was a good movie. It's a good, fine Ghostbusters sequel. Overall, it's easily a 3 out of 4 for me. For most of the movie, it ranges from like all right to decent, and then by the end of the movie as a whole, I had a good time with it. It was fun. Not a perfect movie. It is a step down from Ghostbusters Afterlife. I think depending on how you felt about Ghostbusters Afterlife, I'm gonna move just a little bit here because that sun's like in the background there. But depending on how you felt about Ghostbusters Afterlife, I think will maybe color how you feel about this movie overall. For me, I thought Ghostbusters Afterlife was pretty good. I liked Ghostbusters Afterlife. Didn't love it, but I did like it. I thought it was a really emotional film. It was one of those legacy type sequels that really wants to just acknowledge the first film and connect directly with that one, and to pay tribute to Harold Ramis, which I thought they did well. Overall, I was pretty good. It was a pretty good film to get the Ghostbusters series back on track, kind of like Force Awakens, which I actually thought was better than Force Awakens. Force Awakens I thought was just good, but with this, with Ghostbusters Afterlife, it was to get the series back on track, so they could then do something different with the sequel, which is this one, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. This film is a somewhat of a step down from Afterlife, like I said. Not a huge step down, but it is a step down. It takes place back in New York City, which I liked, even though I liked the change of setting in Afterlife. You got the cast back. The mom, she does good. She's fine here. I liked her a little bit more here than I did in Afterlife, but she's not really needed. Paul Rudd is great. He's just doing his standard Paul Rudd thing. If you like it, you like it. He does a great job here. He's still fun to watch. And him, like, in the arc or whatever, wanting to be, like, more of a father figure for the McKenna Grace character, it is fun. It's enough for him. And by the end, when she like calls him dad or whatever, he's like, "She called me dad, woo!" And he's like yelling out. It is pretty fun. Dan Aykroyd, he does a good job here. Ernie Hudson does a good job. Bill Murray, I've heard some people complain that they felt like he kind of phoned it in. I thought Bill Murray was completely fine here. I thought he did a good job. He's just not in the movie much. But when he does show up, though, he does a good, solid job. He's completely fine. He's still got that Bill Murray charm. But he's not completely needed for the movie, but the fact that he is here, I do think does make it fun. Or like I said, though, Ernie Hudson and Dan Aykroyd, they're better here because they get more to do and they have more warmth with their characters, and and they get just more to do in terms of plot. So you feel more for them than you do like Bill Murray's character, who's only here for like more of a limited capacity. And you get like scenes where Dan Aykroyd goes out to like help the Phoebe character or whatever, the McKenna Grace character, and this lion gets like possessed, the statue, which you've seen in a trailer, and it like starts to attack them, and then they like blow it up with a proton pack. It's kind of a fun scene, and Dan Aykroyd like almost gets killed by the lion, and later on he's talking to Ernie Hudson, where Ernie Hudson's like, you can't still be doing these things at this age. It's supposed to be our golden years. And Dan Aykroyd's like, this is how I want to spend my golden years. And you feel the connection between them and how they're friends. And then at the end of the movie, when they're trying to like close the ghost containment trap or whatever, that's captured the main ghost, Garaka, this ice creature. Ernie Hudson's like looking at Dan Aykroyd going, golden years. You feel it. You feel it. The one thing about this movie is it feels too long. Like a lot of people, and including the director, have compared this to like just wanting to make this like a longer version of the real Ghostbusters cartoon. That's really what it feels like. This really feels like a episode of a Ghostbusters TV show that has been stretched out into a movie, and that's why it's somewhat weaker than the last movie, Afterlife, because it really does feel like it's got a villain of the week thing going on here with this ice creature, who admittedly I did like. I liked how it looked horror movie-ish with the fact that they tried to make it scary looking. I did enjoy that, but it takes too long to get to the creature. And when it shows up at the end, though, it is fun, but they could have got to it much sooner. This movie, like I said, it does feel like an overlong episode of a Ghostbusters TV show. That is a problem here, because some of the movie, it just feels like it's stretched out too long. Like this movie could have easily had 30 minutes probably cut out of it and been sped up, and it would have played much smoother and much better pacing wise. You got this ghost character in the movie who makes friends with the Phoebe McKenna Grace character, who McKenna Grace once again does a good job here. She's still the most likable of the new cast in terms of charisma, other than Paul Rudd, and she does a good job here. again, and this ghost girl or whatever shows up who's like befriending her and everything. And later on, I do like it does start to feel like they're just. I'm sorry if you hear a vehicle in the background. Once again, I'm next to the road with all these reviews, but and it does start to like stretch out too long, like they're doing too many bonding scenes between the two. But I do like the twist later on when you find out like the ghost character, the little girl she makes friends with, was actually like working with the Garaka character who was like promising to take her to the other side or whatever so she could be with her family if she helps her. And coincidentally, the Ghostbusters have this machine where McKenna Grace can become a ghost herself so she can spend time with her new ghost female friend. Um, and once she does that, the Garaka character like takes over her and takes over McKenna Grace and makes her do a chant, which enables the Garaka, the ice creature, to be free from this magic ball that it's captured in. It just takes too long to get to it is the problem. The pacing should have been sped up in this movie, and it should have been shorter. Like you get characters back like Janine or whatever, who is in all the Ghostbusters films, all the main series ones, as the person who like answers the phones or whatever. And at the end of this one, she gets to actually suit up as a Ghostbuster. She doesn't really get to do anything. Like she could have easily just been written out of this. There's really no reason to have her here. But it was fun. It was fine seeing her, but you really didn't need her. And at the end, when the old team like suits up to like help the new team, it is kind of charming to see them like work together for a little bit and all that. But at the same time, they don't quite get to do enough. But it is cool to see them together. But like I said, yeah, Janine could have just been left out. And you got this new character or whatever, who's the dude who sells the ball to Ray, Dan Aykroyd's character, that's got the Garaka creature in it. And you find out at the end he's actually like a fire master. He's like pyrokinetic and can control fire when he helps him at the end, like stop the Garaka creature. That was his character. He's not really totally needed for the story he's not really needed for the Ghostbusters movie that they're trying to tell. But at the same time, this actor does a really good job, and out of the new cast, he is the most fun and has the best comedic timing. So by the end, I liked his character. I thought he was the best new addition in the movie, and he was extremely fun. And when he like first like controls fire or whatever for the first time, just slightly, he goes, "I'm a god." It is just his expression, the way he says it is pretty hilarious. I do like how the ghost character or whatever, the female friend at the end, uses like this match or whatever to help the Ghostbusters and the Fire Master dude like defeat the Garaka character, completing her arc and enabling her to like travel to the afterlife to go be with her family. I did enjoy that, and the idea of like a Ghostbuster making friends with a friendly ghost to like do more, like to like help them cross over or whatever. That's an interesting idea. That's a good idea. It's an interesting idea, but at the same time, it felt like too much padding was devoted to it here in this movie, and it felt like it wasn't really needed completely for the movie that we're trying to tell. Like, realistically, you could have just taken the ghost character out of this movie, and this movie would have played exactly the same and smoother and faster, and the pacing would have been better. But at the same time, I don't hate the ghost character. I like the idea of it, and the actress does a good job. But by the end of the movie, you do feel like, well, that was nice and all, but this character really could have just been taken out, and this movie would have played better and smoother. Anything else? The Walter Peck character, bringing him back and making him mayor is not really needed. Having the Ghostbusters have problems with the mayor again is just not needed. That's one thing that they do bring back from the original Ghostbusters movie that's not really needed there. Despite the fact I did have fun seeing him again, he's completely not needed. And the Library Ghost was another one that just pops in for like 1 second just to do a boo scare to say, hey, remember me from the first movie? That was pointless. There was no reason for that character at all to be here again. But overall, by the end, it was a charming movie that was fun. And I believe the character's name is Trevor, who's supposed to be like the older brother, the kid from Stranger Things. He doesn't get much to do at all. He's chasing around Slimer, which is kind of cute, but at the same time, he's really just completely background. He just gets mostly nothing to do. But Slimer does have a hilarious scene where like this little possessor creature's like possessing everything, and they're trying to catch it, and it jumps into like a pizza and tries to run off, and Slimer jumps up and eats it and flies to the roof, and then the Trevor character or whatever goes, hey, I know that guy. that was funny. It did make me laugh. Slimer is really good effects wise here, and it is cool to have him back, and he's pretty much the series mascot. But at this point, they do need to evolve the character. Just let him join the Ghostbusters team and let him help out like he did in real Ghostbusters. I think it's time they just advance the character and do that. And it's cool to see him back, and his effects are really good, well done. But he does feel like for the most part he's just there just to kill time, to give the kid from Stranger Things something to do. Overall, this was a 3 out of 4. Good, fine Ghostbusters movie. It doesn't. It's nowhere near as good as the original. I like it better than Ghostbusters 2. It's easily better than the reboot, which we don't even talk about that. It's not as good as Afterlife. As far as the Ghostbusters franchise goes, I thought the first one was a masterpiece. Part two, for being the first sequel to be a masterpiece, and pretty much just repeating the exact same as the first movie, just with slight differences. It was all right. Ghostbusters Afterlife actually thought was pretty good. It tugged on the emotional heartstrings well enough, even though the third act was a bit too nostalgia-wise with repeating the same villain from the first movie. Overall, as a film, I felt the heart with it more than I did Ghostbusters 2, so it was pretty good. Even though I do prefer the tone of Ghostbusters 1 and 2 to Afterlife, I prefer the more slight edge with the humor in the original Ghostbusters and Part 2. And in this one, I thought was a good, solid Ghostbusters sequel. It's a good movie. If you're a fan of the franchise, I think you will enjoy it. I don't know why you would hate this, um, but I don't think you would love it either. But I do think you would have a good time with it. So overall, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again.